Hello, good morning everyone, and welcome to the live session on the weekly current affairs for the week between the 30th of June and the 7th of July 2017. As always, this video will be presented in 6 segments, namely the national news first, then the international news, followed by the news on banking, economy and finance, then the news on science and technology, and then the other current affairs, and finally the sports news. Before I begin this video session, let me just reiterate that this is not a teaching session. This is just a recap of the current affairs events that went by in the last week, which has just gone by, because sometime last week, one of the participants had asked, "Sir, you are just reading the current affairs, teach us something." Well, in current affairs, there is nothing to teach as such. What I'm going to do is basically to give you a recap of the events that happened in the past 1 week in the areas of national news, international news, banking, economy and finance, science and technology, other current affairs, and the sports news. It is more as a recapitulation of the events that went by. So what we will do is first we will go through the various news items that have been making the headlines in the past 1 week. After I finish this presentation, if there are any questions, I would like to take them. So we begin with the national news first. The first and of course the biggest news of this week is that the goods and services tax, India's biggest ever tax reform, has been launched. The biggest ever tax reforms in the country's history, the goods and services tax, came into effect from the midnight of 30th June 2017. The historic launch of the GST was done at the Central Hall of Parliament, where President Pranab Mukherjee and Prime Minister Narendra Modi launched the scheme by pressing the button. Speaking on the occasion, the Honorable President, Mr. Pranab Mukherjee, said, "The launch of GST is a momentous occasion for all in the country." Moving on, the GST Council has reduced the rate on fertilizers from 12% to 5%. The government has reduced the GST rate on fertilizers from 12% to 5%. The decision was taken by the GST Council at its meeting in New Delhi, which was chaired by the Finance Minister, Mr. Arun Jaitley, just hours ahead of the rollout. Briefing the media after the meeting, Mr. Jaitley said the government has received several representations for reducing the tax on the fertilizers. He said it was felt that the previous rate could have overburdened the farmers, and hence the decision to reduce the rate from 12% to 5%. It's hoped that the Farmers Association will welcome such a move. The third news on the national news segment is that the IT department or the income tax department has notified the forms for linking Aadhaar and PAN manually. The income tax department has introduced a 1-page form for taxpayers to manually apply for linking their Aadhaar with the permanent account number, apart from the available online and SMS facilities. An individual will have to mention both the PAN and Aadhaar numbers and have to undertake a declaration stating that they have not been allotted any other PAN than the one mentioned on the form. An official said this form is just another procedure via the paper medium. He told that the SMS and online modes are also available. Moving on to the next item, over 29,000 pilgrims pay obeisance at the Amarnath temple. More than 29,000 pilgrims paid obeisance at the Amarnath cave shrine in Jammu and Kashmir in the first 3 days of the annual pilgrimage. The 40-day yatra began from the twin routes of Pahalgam in Anantnag district and Baltal in Ganderbal district on the 29th of June amid tight security arrangements. On the third day of the pilgrimage, that is on the 1st of July 2017, 14,953 pilgrims offered prayers at the cave shrine, raising the total number to 29,182, an official spokesman said. Madhya Pradesh has set the record with plantations samplings of over 6 crore samplings in a single day. In Madhya Pradesh, a massive plantation campaign was undertaken to save the environment and conservation of the Narmada River. According to official sources, over 6 crore samplings were planted in 24 districts of Narmada Basin in just under 12 hours. Arrangements were made to record the whole event for the Guinness Book of World Records. Moving on, the next item of the national news for this week between the 30th of June and the 7th of July is that the Railways and the NBCC have inked a memorandum of understanding to redevelop 10 railway stations. Rail Land Development Authority (RLDA) and has inked an MOU with the National Building Construction Corporation or NBCC for development of 10 railway stations across the country on global standards. The identified stations to be taken up initially by the NBCC, a PSU of the Urban Development Ministry for Redevelopment, are Tirupati, Nellore, Puducherry, Sarai Rohilla in Delhi, Maragaon, Lucknow, Gomti Nagar, Kota, Thane New Station and Ernakulam in Kerala. RLDA is an arm of the Indian Railways for commercial exploitation of rail land. Indigenously developed quick reaction surface-to-air short-range missile has been successfully test-fired. India successfully test-fired its indigenously developed quick reaction surface-to-air short-range missile or QRSAM. The sophisticated missile was test-fired from a truck-mounted canister launcher from a Launch Complex 3 at the Integrated Test Range at Chandipur. It was the second successful development trial of the state-of-the-art missile with an aerial target. Moving on, Mr. Achal Kumar Jyoti has been appointed as the Chief Election Commissioner. President Pranab Mukherjee has appointed the Election Commissioner Achal Kumar Jyoti as the Chief Election Commissioner. He will be the 21st CEC and will succeed Mr. Nazim Zaidi. He will continue as CEC till the 17th of January 2018. Mr. Achal Kumar Jyoti has since taken charge as the Chief Election Commissioner of the country. The foundation stone of the country's biggest global skill park has been laid. The foundation stone of the country's biggest global skill park was laid in Bhopal jointly by the Union Minister of State for Skill Development and Entrepreneurship Rajiv Pratap Rudy and the Madhya Pradesh Chief Minister Shivraj Chauhan. The park will come up on a 37-acre land allotted in the Narela Shankari area of Bhopal. It will be established with the support of Singapore's Institute of Technical Education and Education Services. After the Prime Minister Mr. Narendra Modi's visit to Israel, India and Israel have elevated their ties to strategic partnership. India and Israel have elevated their ties to a strategic partnership level as New Delhi identified Tel Aviv as a major development and technological partner. Both nations agreed to combat the growing radicalization and terrorism and expand the cooperation in cyber security. The two countries decided to set up a technological innovation fund worth $40 million. The next item of the national news is that for the first time, a white tiger has been spotted in Nilgiris. A photographer named Nilanjan Ray is believed to have spotted a rare white tiger with a pale skin color for the first time in the Nilgiris. The discovery has aroused interest amongst conservationists and forest officials. It is yet to be ascertained whether the white tiger is a true genetic mutant. The tiger, which is spotted in the Nilgiri Biosphere Reserve, does not seem to be albino and was found to be whitish with golden brown patches. It is not known yet whether the first white tiger which has been spotted in Nilgiris is alone or it has a companion or not. We'll have to wait and watch for the news on that. Mr. Sanjay Kumar has been appointed as the new NDRF chief. A senior IPS officer, Sanjay Kumar, was appointed as the Director General of the National Disaster Responsive Force, or the NDRF. He will succeed Mr. R.K. Prachanda, who was taken charge as the Director General as the Indo-Tibetan Police Force. Sanjay Kumar is a 1985 batch IPS officer of the Indian Police Service Officer of Himachal Pradesh cadre. The next news is that India has ranked 23rd amongst 165 nations in Cybersecurity Index. Before we move on, Mujtaba has asked where is Nilgiri located, and he has asked whether it is in Maharashtra. I would like to answer the question immediately because afterwards we may get out of the topic. Nilgiris is in Tamil Nadu. and is the home of the famous hill station Ooty or Uttakamandalam. I hope that answers your question, Mashraba. Nilgiris is located in Tamil Nadu in the Western Ghats in Ooty or Uttakamandalam. Coming back to the news items, India has ranked 23rd amongst 165 nations in Cyber Security Index. India is ranked a high 23rd out of 165 nations in a global index that measures the commitment of nations across the world to cybersecurity. The second Global Cybersecurity Index, or CGI, released by the UN Telecommunication Agency, International Telecommunication Union, or ITU. India is ranked 23rd on the index with a score of 0.683 and has been listed in the maturing category. The index has been topped by Singapore with a 0.925 score. Amit Kumar, Nilgiri is not in Kerala, it is in Tamil Nadu in the hill station of Ooty. I hope that clarifies your point, Amit. India-Israel CEOs Forum sets a target to increase bilateral trade from 5 to 20 billion US dollars in 5 years' time. The India-Israel CEOs Forum has set a target to increase the bilateral trade from the current 5 billion US dollars to 20 billion US dollars within a period of 5 years. The forum also set up 6 joint committees covering startup, pharma and life sciences, homeland security, agriculture, energy and water sectors. The India-Israel Startup Bridge was launched to encourage startups of the two countries to work together to come up with innovative solutions to tackle challenges. This Israel CEO Forum was also an outcome of the recent visit of Prime Minister Narendra Modi to Israel, the first by an Indian Prime Minister in a very, very long time. That's all we have news for you in the national segment. We now move on to the next segment of this weekly current affairs between the 30th of June and the 7th of July 2017, and that is on international news. In the first news of the international news segment, China has condemned the US sanctions over North Korea funding. China has reacted angrily to a US decision to impose sanctions on a Chinese bank accused of laundering North Korean money. A foreign ministry spokesman urged the United States to stop wrongful actions to avoid harming cooperation. The US announced the move as well as sanctions on a Chinese shipping company and 2 Chinese nationals. It must be noted here that the escalation in tension between North Korea and US has been going on for some time, with China taking the North Korean side and the US requesting China to see reason in the actions of North Korea and bring them to the table. We have to wait and watch this development for further information. Vishal Nadegiri has asked, sir, can you share the PPT after the class? Vishal, this video is nothing but a summarized version of the daily handouts which I publish on current affairs, which is available in our banking dashboard. So you can always go to the dashboard and you will be seeing the same presentation in a more detailed form in the banking dashboard. I hope that satisfies your question, Vishal. It's very much available in the PDF form. On a daily basis is being updated and you can see it. It's been updated on a daily basis for the last many days now. Ankit Kawatra has backed the Queen's Young Leaders Award for 2017. Anti-hunger activist Ankit Kawatra has been awarded the Queen's Young Leaders Award for 2017 by Queen Elizabeth II at a ceremony in the Buckingham Palace in London. The Queen's Young Leaders Award recognizes exceptional work towards solving hunger and malnutrition in India. Ankit Kawatra is the founder of Feeding India, an organization which works towards eradicating hunger and food wastage in India. Congratulations, Ankit Kawatra. We Indians are proud of you. I hope the speed with which I'm sharing the information now is okay for you guys. Some of you had expressed the feeling that I was going a little fast, so hence I have deliberately slowed down, and I hope this is okay with you all guys now. Please respond to that observation. I will be very happy for your response. Thank you very much. The next news on the international news segment is that the money parked by Indians in Swiss banks have hit a record low. According to the data released by the Zurich-based SNB, money parked by Indians in Swiss banks have nearly halved to 676 million Swiss francs, or about 4,500 crores in 2016. The data comes ahead of a new framework for the automatic exchange of information between Switzerland and India to check the menace of black money. Swiss National Bank is Switzerland's centralized banking authority. So this news is that the money parked by Indians in Swiss banks have hit a record low, and it has come down to about 4,500 crore rupees. The United States is to sell C-17 Globemaster transport aircraft to India. The United States of America has decided to sell one C-17 transport aircraft to India. US and India have built a close defense relationship in recent years. The US, along with Russia and Israel, has emerged as the top 3 arms supplier to India. The sale of US $366.2 million C-17 transport aircraft manufactured by Boeing also includes one missile warning system, one countermeasures dispensing system, one identification friend or foe IFF transponder, and precise navigation equipment. Moving on in the international news, the US-led coalition renews the attack on Islamic State in Raqqa. US-backed fighters have launched a renewed attack on the Islamic State group militants inside the Syrian bastion Raqqa. Head of the Syrian Observatory for Human Rights, Rami Abdel Rahman, said that the Syrian Democratic Forces, or the SDF, started a counter-offensive on Friday night to retake Al-Sana. The SDF first ousted the Islamic State from Al-Sana on the 12th of June, but IS took back control again yesterday, which was the 2nd of July 2017. Saudi Arabia decided to extend by 48 hours the deadline for Qatar. In the ongoing crisis in the Gulf Council region, Saudi Arabia and its allies have decided to extend by 48 hours the deadline for Qatar to accept the list of demands to lift a de facto blockade. With the deadline expiring at midnight yesterday, Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, Bahrain, and Egypt agreed to give Doha an extension to respond positively to their demands. The move comes after a request by the Kuwaiti Emir, who is acting as a mediator in the Gulf crisis. It is hoped that for the good of all the countries in the Gulf Cooperation Council, as well as for the general welfare of the world as a whole, this embargo, this blockade of Qatar is lifted by the Gulf countries as soon as possible, because as we know, Qatar is the largest producer of liquefied natural petroleum gas in the world, and it's very crucial for Qatar to have a free trading partner. The news from the United States is that two Indian Americans are to be honored with the Great Immigrants Award. Two Indian American citizens, Adobe Chief Shantanu Narayan, 54 years old, and former U.S. Surgeon General Vivek Murthy, aged 39, have been chosen for the prestigious Great Immigrants, the Pride of America Award of 2017. They are among the 38 distinguished U.S. immigrants representing more than 30 countries of origin around the world, honored with this year's award for their role in advancing U.S. economy, society, and culture. Some of the honorees include Canadian origin social entrepreneur Jeff Skoll, PayPal co-founder of Ukrainian origin Max Levichin, and others. Congratulations to Shantanu Narayan and Vivek Murthy. Indians are proud of you. Ms. Carrie Lam has been sworn in as the first female chief executive of Hong Kong. Carrie Lam was sworn in as the first female chief executive of the Hong Kong Special Administrative Region, or the HKSAR, an autonomous territory of China on the Pearl River Delta. The CE, or the chief executive of Hong Kong, is the head and representative of the Hong Kong and also the head of the government of Hong Kong. Qatar has responded to demands by Saudi allies after the deadline extended. Qatar responded to a list of demands from Saudi Arabia and its allies after they agreed to give the defined Doha another 48 hours to address their grievances. Details of the response were not immediately available, but a Gulf official told that Qatari Foreign Minister Sheikh Mohammed bin Abdul Rahman Al Thani had delivered it during a short visit to Kuwait, who was acting as a mediator in the crisis. The European Union has warned of additional sanctions against North Korea. The European Union warned that it may consider additional sanctions against North Korea after it carried out an intercontinental ballistic missile last Tuesday. Last month, the European Union expanded its sanctions blacklist after North Korea launched a volley of surface-to-ship cruise missiles off its eastern coast. The European Union's external affairs arm said in a statement that the bloc expected North Korea to abide by UN resolutions and halt all work on its nuclear and missile programs. However, this seems to be having no effect on the North Korean leader who continues to avenge some kind of a war against the US and its allies, and he has promised to hit mainland Alaska in a short while, in a short time from now. Let us hope that does not happen, for if it happens, it could be catastrophic for the entire world. India has placed a lowly 88 in the money hoarded in Swiss banks. As per the analysis of the latest figures compiled by the Zurich-based SNB, or the Swiss National Bank, as on the end of 2016, India has slipped to the 88th place in terms of money parked by its citizens with Swiss banks. The analysis shows that the money officially held by Indians with banks in Switzerland accounts for just a meager 0.04% of the total funds kept by all foreign clients in the Swiss banking system. The funds mentioned are the official figures and do not indicate the quantum of black money. The US has upped its ante on the ongoing tensions with North Korea and has said that it will use military forces on North Korea if need be. The United States has said that it will use the considerable military forces on North Korea if need be to stop North Korea's nuclear missile program. Describing the North's latest attempt as a sharp military escalation, the United States ambassador to the United Nations, Nikki Haley, said that the US will table a new resolution against Pyongyang. North Korea's actions were quickly closing off the possibility of a diplomatic solution, and the United States is prepared to defend itself and its allies. This shows the sign of an escalating tension between North Korea and the US and its allies. North Korea has claimed successful test of its first intercontinental ballistic missile. North Korea has claimed that it has successfully test-fired its first intercontinental ballistic missile, Hwasong-14, into the waters near the Sea of Japan. The claim was confirmed by its major opponent, United States. The launch appeared to be North Korea's most successful missile test since its ballistic missile program gathered pace in the late 1990s. Before I proceed, Sanchil Goswami has said, "Sir, please consider India's space research facts." Sanchil, as and when any news items have been appearing on India's space research programs and India's successful launches of the missile vehicles and others, I have been covering them in my updates on the weekly current affairs without fail. I'm a proud Indian, and the achievements of ISRO have made me more proud than anybody else. So you can be rest assured that I will not miss any item concerning the achievements of the Indian Space Research Organization. I hope that makes it okay with you, Sanchil Goswami. The next news on the international segment is that the navies of India, US, and Japan are to participate in the Malabar exercise. Naval ships, aircrafts, and personnel from India, Japan, and the United States will participate in the 10-day-long Malabar exercise beginning on the 7th of July 2017. The exercise will feature both ashore and at-sea training. Malabar 2017 is the latest in a continuing series of exercises that has grown in scope and complexity over the years to address the variety of shared threats to maritime security in the Asia-Pacific region. Saudi Arabia and its allies have slammed Qatar's non-compliance as threat to security. Saudi Arabia and its allies have criticized Qatar's refusal to accept conditions to end the Gulf's biggest diplomatic crisis in recent years as a threat to regional security. Saudi Arabia, Egypt, the United Arab Emirates, and Bahrain said Qatar's rejection of a list of demands they set to lift sanctions on Doha reflects its intention to continue its policy aimed at destabilizing security in the region. Nikunj Agarwal is asking, where is Malabar? Malabar is in Kerala, Nikunj. The Kerala region, especially the North Kerala region, is called Malabar, consisting of the Kozhikode, Malappuram, and Thalicheri, Kannur districts. They are all called Malabar. That is the North Kerala part of it. And that's the last news item on the international news item. We now move on to the next news, next segment of this weekly current affairs capsule for the week between the 30th of June and the 7th of July. And this is on banking, economy, and finance. The first news item on this segment is that the government has lowered the interest rate by 0.1% or 10 basis points on small savings schemes for the July to September quarter. Government has lowered the interest rate on small savings schemes by 0.1% for the July-September quarter for 2017. The move will prompt banks to lower deposit rates. The rates of small savings schemes like PPF, Kisan Vikas Patra, and Sukanya Samriddhi have been lowered across the board compared to the April-June quarter. Since April last year, interest rates of all small savings schemes have been recalibrated on a quarterly basis. The next news is that the growth of 8 core sectors have slowed to 3.6% in May 2017. The growth of 8 core sectors slowed to 3.6% in May this year due to fall in output of coal and fertilizers. The growth rate of 8 infrastructure sectors, including coal, crude oil, fertilizer, steel, cement, and electricity, was 5.2% in May last year. According to the data released by the Ministry of Commerce, Industry, Coal and Fertilizer, productions recorded negative growth of 3.3% and 6.5% respectively. Steel growth dipped to 3.7% last month as against 13.4% in 2016. This is not a very good news for the Indian economy that the 8 core sectors growth has slowed down to 3.6% in May this year as against 5.2% in the May of the corresponding period in the last year. The Asian Development Bank has committed US $10 billion to support development of states in India. The Asian Development Bank has committed US $10 billion to support infrastructure building and to cater to the immediate development needs of the less developed states in India. This has been stated by the ADB President Takahiro Nakawo during his 3-day visit to India. The ADB President has said that the Asian Development Bank is ready to meet immediate critical infrastructure needs of less developed states like Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, Jharkhand, Orissa, and Chhattisgarh over a period of 5 years. Well, I will now take this one question from Jagannath Panda, who has asked, "Sir, we are confused on news over Qatar and Gulf nations as to which is the latest one. Please give it in chronological order." Well, Jagannath, I will have to go into a bit of history to answer your question, which I will do right away. On the 5th of June, 5 Gulf Council nations, namely Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, Bahrain, Kuwait, and Abu Dhabi, they went ahead and sanctioned blockades against Qatar for allegedly helping the Islamic terrorism and also helping the militants in the region. All these 5 nations wanted Qatar to stop funding ISIS terrorists, and also they put forth a lot of demands on Qatar for the blockade to be lifted. And one of the demands was that their state-run television channel Al Jazeera should be shut down also. They had given the 5 nations together had given Doha, or the capital of Qatar. They had given Doha a time frame of 1 month in which to meet their demands so that the blockage could be lifted. That 1 month period ended on the 5th of July 2017. However, Qatar has all along been saying that the demands put forth by the Gulf nations are unacceptable to it, and they will not be able to concede to many of the demands, let alone all of them. This prompted the Gulf Council nations to go into a huddle again and discuss the issue, along with Kuwait, who is acting as a mediator in the issue. Then the Gulf Council decided to give Qatar 2 days more, or 48 hours more, to respond to all their demands so that the blockade could be lifted. And that 2-day blockade also, the 2-day deadline also expired at midnight last night. That is the 7th of July. That deadline has also expired. So now we'll have to wait and watch how Qatar responds to this expiry of the deadline as well, and we'll have to wait and watch what happens. So this is the chronological order of events that have happened in the Gulf crisis. It must be noted that Gulf crisis is very important for not only Qatar but also for India, because the largest population of immigrants in the Gulf region are from India. A majority of them are from Kerala. Moreover, the Gulf, the Qatar has a very significant place in the world economy because of not only its supplies of oil, but also it is the world's largest supplier of liquefied liquefied natural petroleum. So it is very important that the blockade on Qatar is lifted as early as possible so that trade and commerce returns to normalcy in that region. However, this has not seen the light of the day thus far. As I speak to you on the 8th of July, there has been no formal lifting of the sanctions on Doha. We'll have to wait and watch what happens. I hope this answers your question, my dear friend. The RBI has cautioned that the asset quality and profitability of banks continue to deteriorate. While India's financial system remains stable, concerns over banks' asset quality remain, according to the Reserve Bank of India in its latest Financial Stability Report, or FSR. The report said that the Banking Stability Indicator, BSI, worsened between September 16 and March 2017 due to a deterioration in the asset quality and profitability. The indicator represents the 5 dimensions of soundness, asset quality, profitability, liquidity, and efficiency. That's a note of caution to all the banks in India by RBI. Telangana have decided that they will have a separate agricultural budget from next year. Telangana will have a separate budget for agriculture from next year. This was decided after the Chief Minister, Mr. K. Chandrasekhar Rao, met the ministers and officials on agriculture in Hyderabad. The state will provide the training of modern and scientific methods of farming to increase the farm output. The next news item is that the government has imposed a 10% customs duty on imported mobile phones and parts of mobile phones. The government has imposed a 10% basic customs duty on mobile phones and certain parts with immediate effect to boost domestic manufacturing. The 10% customs duty will be levied on imported cellular mobile phones and accessories such as charger, battery, wire headset, microphone and receiver, keypad, USB cable, and other specified electronic goods. However, the present exemption from basic customs duty on specified parts of mobile phones will continue. Well, Ranga, I think the syllabus for bank awareness contains this all current affairs of the last 6 months, etc., etc. And I think this is what I'm covering in my presentation on current affairs. I'm sure, Ranga, you will agree with me that my presentations contain news and reference items to all the items which you have mentioned in your chat. And I will continue to do that as well. I hope this satisfies you, Ranga. Thank you very much. Maruti, Toyota, JLR and BMW have cut car prices to pass on the GST benefit to the consumers. Maruti Suzuki, Toyota Kirloskar, JLR and the BMW have reduced their car prices in the range of between 2,300 rupees and for over 2 lakhs of different models to pass on to the consumers the benefit of lower tax incidence under the GST regime. Country's top automaker Maruti Suzuki India has slashed the prices of most of its models by up to 3% with immediate effect, except for diesel versions of the sedan Ciaz and MPV Ertiga with mild hybrid technology, which saw increase in prices by over 1 lakh rupees. The international credit rating agency Moody's has said that the GST is to boost the GDP of the country and it's positive for rating. Moody's Investor Services has said implementation of the GST will be positive for India's rating as it will lead to higher GDP growth and increased tax revenues. Over the medium term, GST is likely to contribute to productivity gains and higher GDP growth by improving the ease of doing business and unifying the national market and enhancing India's attractiveness as a foreign investment destination. In a big merger move, the NMCE and the ICEX have merged to create India's third biggest commodity exchange. National Multi-Commodity Exchange, India's first demutualized online national multi-commodities exchange, will merge with the Indian Commodity Exchange or ICEX. The merged entity will create India's third biggest commodity exchange. The largest commodity exchange by volume is the Multi-Commodity Exchange MCX, followed by the National Commodity and Derivative Exchange NCDEX. The Center and Asian Development Bank has signed a $220 million loan. The Center and Asian Development Bank ADB signed a $220 million loan for improving connectivity as well as transport efficiency and safety on the state highways of Rajasthan. The loan is the first tranche of the $500 million Rajasthan State Highways Investment Program approved by the ADB board in May this year. An official release said that the first tranche loan will improve about 1,000 kilometers of state highways and major district roads. Before I proceed, Sharif has said you're not covering about authors of books latest. Well, Sharif, there is a separate segment in my video called Other Current Affairs. Such news will be covered under the segment of Other Current Affairs. If there are any, in fact, I remember last week I had covered the award of the Man Pulitzer Book Awards. So like that, if there are any news from the segment, I will certainly do that. So you can wait for the segment on Other Current Affairs. The next news in banking, economy and finance is that SEBI tightens norms for issuance of credit ratings. Any laxity by credit rating agencies towards companies trying to cover up debt crisis may no longer be tolerated. Alarmed by the agency's failure to conduct a timely review of the financial rating of a debt instrument of Reliance Communications, the Securities and Exchange Board of India, SEBI, has tightened the norms for the issuance of credit ratings. SEBI has virtually put the onus on credit rating agencies to monitor sharing of information by companies with regard to servicing of their debt. The latest appointment is that Melvin Rego is the new CEO of Syndicate Bank. Melvin Rego has assumed charge as the Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer of Syndicate Bank. Prior to joining the bank, he was the MD and CEO of Bank of India. He has also held the position of Deputy Managing Director of IDBI Bank. The IT department has said that the credit card bill payment will be exempt from cash dealing limit of rupees 2 lakhs. The Revenue Department has said that restrictions on cash dealings of rupees 2 lakh or more will not apply to credit card bill payments. The move to ban cash transactions above a threshold was aimed at curbing black money by discouraging cash transactions and promoting digital economy. However, some exceptions were made, and the credit card bill payment is one such exception. June quarter records the highest ever FPI inflows into Indian debt. The first quarter of this fiscal that ended on 30th of June 2017 or last week has been robust in terms of the foreign money inflows into the country. Foreign portfolio investors poured a record $10.1 billion into the Indian debt segment in this quarter, April to June, the highest ever for any quarter on record since 2002. This has surpassed the earlier record inflow of $9.2 billion witnessed in 2014 for the quarter ending in September 2014. Obviously, the foreign portfolio investors are seeing India as a very attractive market, and they continue to pour money into the Indian debt market. This is good news for India and good news for the Indian rupee as well. Subsidized LPG prices rise up to rupees 32 post GST. Domestic gas LPG prices has been hiked by up to 32 rupees per cylinder, the steepest increase in 6 years following implementation of the goods and services tax. Subsidized LPG rates have been increased to 477.46 per 14.2 kilogram cylinder from 446.65 in Delhi after GST was implemented from the 1st of July 2017. In the previous indirect tax regime, where separate factory gate duty and sales tax were levied, LPG attracted a zero or nil excise duty all over the country. The GST Council has clarified that CGST or the central GST will not apply to items not registered under trademark law. The government has said that 5% central GST will not apply to products that are not registered under the Trademark Act. The CGST rate on supply of certain goods such as paneer, natural honey, wheat, rice and other cereals, pulses, flour of cereals and pulses is zero. However, supply of such goods when put up in unit container and bearing a registered brand name would attract 2.5% GST or CGST. Jammu and Kashmir has become the last state to adopt the resolution for implementing GST in the state. Jammu and Kashmir Assembly adopted a resolution for implementing the GST in the state by a voice vote amid protests by the National Conference and the Congress. It was the only state left to implement the GST after all the other states did so on the 1st of July. The resolution was moved by the State Finance Minister Hasib Drau yesterday, called for a presidential order to safeguard the special status and exclusive taxation powers of the state. The Employees Provident Fund Organization, or EFPO, has signed an agreement with 5 banks. The Employees Provident Fund Organization has inked an agreement with 4 private sector banks and the public sector bank, Bank of Baroda, for the purpose of collection of provident fund dues from employers and payments to its subscribers. This is the first time that the EFPO has roped in private banks, namely ICICI Bank, HDFC Bank, Axis Bank, and Kotak Mahindra Bank. This move of EFPO will help the organization to save nearly 300 crore rupees per year, as the 5 banks have agreed to zero transaction charges. The RBI has come out in favor of the bank customers and have said that bank customers won't have to bear the loss from fraudulent transactions. The Reserve Bank of India on the 6th of July said that the customers will not suffer any loss if unauthorized electronic banking transactions are reported to the bank within 3 days, thus putting the onus of such transactions largely on the banks. The amount involved will be credited into the accounts concerned within 10 days. In case the third-party fraud is reported with a delay of 4 to 7 working days, a customer will face a liability of up to rupees 25,000. That's all we have news in the banking and economy segment. Now we move on to the next segment of the weekly current affairs, and that is on science and technology. The National Aeronautical Space Administration, or NASA, has launched a rocket to produce colorful artificial clouds. The NASA has successfully launched Terrier-improved MOLMET surrounding rocket that created colorful artificial clouds visible in the skies of the United States. The rocket was launched from its Wallops Flight Facility in Virginia. The rocket, during the 8-minute flight, had released 10 canisters about the size of a soft drink into space. It was ejected about 9 to 19 kilometers away from the 300-kilogram main payload. A building in Coimbatore has received the world's second highest green rating. Sierra Odyssey building in Coimbatore has been recognized as the world's second highest ranking green building. The building has scored 103 points out of 110 under the LEED certification. The Sierra Odyssey is a 3-story building which has been constructed by laying specific emphasis on increasing the efficiency of resources such as energy, water, or materials. Scientists have developed the world's sharpest laser. Scientists from the Psychische Technische Bundesanstalt PDB in Germany have developed the world's sharpest laser with a record-breaking precision. This precision can be useful for various applications such as optimal atomic clocks, radio astronomy, precision spectroscopy, testing the theory of relativity, and carrying out new precision measurements on ultra-cold atoms. The NASA has tested flexible solar array on space station. NASA is testing for the first time the effectiveness of a flexible solar array on the space station that could one day power satellites and spacecrafts. The Rollout Solar Array, or ROSA, is an advanced flexible solar array that rolls out like a tape measure that can be easily adapted to different sizes, including very large arrays, to provide power for a variety of future spacecraft. In addition, the technology conceivably could be adapted to provide solar power in remote locations. We now move on to the next segment of this weekly current affairs, and that is called the Other Current Affairs. The first news item is that Narendra Kumar Sinha has assumed charge as the Information and Broadcasting Secretary. Narendra Kumar Sinha, a 1980 batch IAS officer of Bihar Cadre, was on Friday, that is on the 7th of July, assumed charge as the Information and Broadcasting Secretary. He will take charge in place of Ajay Mittal, who has been appointed as the Secretary, Department of Personnel and Training. Prior to this appointment, Mr. Sinha was Secretary in the Ministry of Culture. K.K. Venugopal has been appointed as the Attorney General of India. President Pranab Mukherjee has appointed the senior advocate and constitutional expert K.K. Venugopal, aged 86, as the new Attorney General of India. He will be the 15th Attorney General of India, and he succeeds Mukul Rastogi as the country's top law officer. Earlier, in the Morarji Desai government between 1977 and 79, Venugopal has served as the additional Solicitor General of India. We move on to the last item of this last segment of this weekly current affairs, and that's on the sports news. Germany have lifted the maiden Confederation Cup football title, defeating Chile. Germany have lifted their maiden Confederation Cup football title. In the final played at St. Petersburg, the 4-time World Cup winners defeated Chile by a solitary goal. Copa America winners Chile dominated ball possession from start to finish, but could not score despite getting a plethora of chances. The Pankaj Advani-led Indian team thumped Pakistan to claim title in the Asian Team Snooker Championship. The Indian team, led by ace QS Pankaj Advani, demolished Pakistan in the final of the Asian Team Snooker Championship in Bishkek, Kyrgyzstan. Advani teamed up with Lakshman Rawat, pieced a brilliant break of 83 to seal the first tie of the best-of-5 final. To complete a whitewash, the Indian pair maintained their superlative performance in the doubles tie as well. In the Asian Athletic Championships 2017, which is underway in Orissa, Manpreet Kaur and Govind Lakshman wins gold. Manpreet Kaur and Govindan Lakshman have managed to win gold medals on the opening day of the Asian Athletic Championships held at Kalinga Stadium in Bhubaneswar. Govindan Lakshman has won a gold medal in the 5,000 meters. India has moved up in the World FIFA rankings. As per the latest updated FIFA World Football Rankings, the Indian national football team has managed to secure the 96th spot, moving 4 places up from 100. This is the best ranking secured by India in the last 21 years. In 1996, India managed to secure the 94th spot. Till date, that remains the country's best ever FIFA ranking. At present, Germany lead the rankings. Germany is followed by Brazil, Argentina, Portugal and Switzerland in the rankings. Amongst Asian countries, Iran is the leader at number 23. India has wrapped up the one-day international series in cricket against the West Indies by 3-1 margin. India have wrapped up the 5-match one-day international series against the West Indies by a 3-1 margin. At Kingston, Jamaica, the visitors won the final match convincingly by 8 wickets. Chasing 206 runs for a win, India achieved the target in only 36.5 overs, losing just 2 wickets. Skipper and man of the match Virat Kohli anchored the chase by scoring his 28th ODI century and remaining unbeaten on 111, along with Dinesh Karthik, who was not out on 50. So that's all I have for you in this weekly segment of current affairs for the week between the 30th of June and the 7th of July 2017. And now I'm open for questions. We'll take a few questions for the next few minutes. If you have any questions, you're welcome to ask them, and I'll be able to clarify them to the best of my ability. Pooja has asked, sir, what is that LEED certification? LEED certification is given to those buildings which comply with less of pollution and which comply with the using the LED technology, and they are classified as green buildings. And that is the reason why this building has got a green certificate. Nilesh Chaudhary has said, sir, what will be the effect of merging of banks on recruitment in the upcoming days or years? Well, Nilesh, merger of banks and recruitment are two different things. As long as the merged entity has an appetite for more people, they will continue to recruit. It is not that just by recruitment, it's not that just by merger, the recruitment will come to a stop. Recruitment will continue as long as there is an appetite or need for it. We have seen in recent days how State Bank of India continues to release advertisements for officers in specialist posts even after the merger of the associate banks. That's the case in point. Mangalambya Naroyam has said, please tell me about GST as prices are high in essential commodities. Well, Mangalamba, I am not in a position to comment as to why the prices are high, but the government official interpretation is that the prices are falling and the prices will stabilize over the next 1 month or so. The initial hiccup could be due to an understanding of the various implications of the GST on various products. But the government has come out in print media as well as in social media issuing clarifications that various items of essential commodities such as rice, vegetables, milk, flour, cereals and pulses will attract zero tax under GST. So the prices ought to come down. In the long run, I think GST will be a game changer and the prices will certainly come down. Prashray Kumar has said the name of the building in the green certificate of building at first position. Well, what Prashad, the building in Coimbatore has not got the first position. It's the first building to be clarified under the second level of the World Green Building this thing. There are 3 levels, 1, 2 and 3. The building in Coimbatore becomes the first building to get the second level. So that's the answer to your question. Are current affairs equally important to both SSC and banks from weightage point of view? Yes, of course, the SSC contains, each question paper contains 25 questions on current affairs and general awareness, and so does the exams on banking. I think they are very important. How many vacancies will come up in IPBS PO 2017, asked Rahul Singh. Well, Rahul, I'm sorry, I have no idea on that. I'll have to check and come back to you. Nikunj Agarwal has said 9,000. If that is a possible answer, well, I take it. Well, there seem to be no more questions coming in. I'll wait for a few more minutes before you guys ask for any questions that are to be answered by me. Well, Prashray, there are many buildings which have been classified under the level 1 of the green of the LEED certification. There are many of them in the world and in India too. Pratik Thalio says, are actual figures important to learn? I guess it is very important to learn the actual figures, because that shows that you are up to date with what's going on in the current affairs section. It is very important. I have no doubt on that. Manglam and Naram has says, please live session on economics. Well, I don't know what you want from economics, because this current affairs section itself, the current affairs session itself has a section on economics. So, Vishnu Priya Sharma has asked, sir, can you give detailed explanation on effects on other countries on ballistic missiles by North Korea? Well, North Korea at this point in time, North Korea at this point in time seems to have only two enemies. One is South Korea and the other is United States. They are not, as of now, talking of any other country in the world, and let's hope that they continue to do so, and they continue to remain in that position. As of now, their main targets are the United States and their neighbor, South Korea. Vivek Kumar has asked, sir, please explain PCA prompt corrective actions. Prompt corrective actions is taken on banks which have deteriorating asset quality, in other words, whose NPA has increased beyond a point of time. The RBI has so far brought 4 banks under the PCA ambit, and the immediate action of that is that if the NPAs are not brought down to a certain acceptable level decided by RBI, the banks concerned will have to stop lending. That is a major aspect of commercial banking, is lending, and if the banks are asked to stop lending, that will put a tremendous strain on their profitability further. That is the immediate effect of a prompt corrective action, the PCA. Prayas Gupta says, sir, regarding GST, when we book flight tickets, still we see taxes and charges as convenience fee, SGST, CGST. How is GST applied here? You have yourself answered the question, Prayas. SGST is state government CGST, state government GST, CGST is central government GST. When the GST is applied, the state and the central divide it in equal portion, and that is why it is there. Convenience fee is another fee charged by the airlines for using their website for booking tickets through the online medium. So that will continue. Pratyas has asked, what are the topics have to concentrate for SSC CGL? Well, the entire syllabus has to be concentrated, Pratyas, because there's no one segment which can be left out at the expense of another. You have to concentrate on everything. What is the correct procedure for preparation of general awareness, which includes CA, also asks Krishna sees Mai. Well, Krishna sees, there is a correct procedure is that you should go through all the items of general awareness and current affairs and make yourself abreast of the developments which are happening. General awareness could be, current affairs could be a part of general awareness. In other words, general awareness is a more encompassing term. General awareness could include a lot of pieces from history, geography, and banking, economics, everything. But general awareness is more static information. That means the information does not change over a period of time. For example, if you recall the last live session we had on general awareness, many of those questions were all static. The answers will remain the same forever. To give you just an example, who was the first batsman to be declared out under the DRS system? The answer was Sachin Tendulkar. This answer is going to remain forever and ever. The answer will not change. That is about general awareness. Whereas current affairs, it could be a very dynamic thing. Current affairs could be a dynamic thing in the sense that the things could change in a period of days, weeks, or months. Or months. You should, in all fairness and you should, in all respect to the examination, be aware of both general awareness, which is the static part of it, and current affairs, which is the dynamic part of it. Delta Singh asks, sir, please explain about Doklam issue. Well, Daler Singh, well, Daler, Doklam issue is more of a political issue between India and China. Recently, videos went viral on the social media showing the Chinese soldiers pushing at Indian soldiers and trying to retaliate and pushing them back and so on. India contended that the Chinese soldiers are intruded into the Indian territory. China says it is not part of Indian territory. It is a part of the disputed triangle which lies near the Sikkim border. So it's more of a political issue, and so let's stop it at that. Vishnu Priya says, can you tell me what are the demands of Saudi Arabians from Qatar? Number one demand, Vishnu Priya, is that the Qatar should stop funding ISIS terrorists. Number two is that they should they should ban the telecast of their national TV Al Jazeera, amongst many others. These two are the main demands. Well, ladies and gentlemen, if you have no other questions, I would like to say thank you for having joined me on this session. It was very nice meeting you all and giving you my perspective on the current affairs which happen around the world and in India between the 30th of June and the 7th of July. I hope to meet you again next week with the next edition of Current Affairs. The next Current Affairs live session will be at 11 a.m. on the 13th of July, which is Thursday. So we shall meet on the 13th of July at 11 a.m. Until then, I would like to say thank you very much. Have an excellent Saturday and weekend. Thank you very much for joining. Thanks and goodbye.